Hello, hello. Welcome to my show. This is SC Honesty. Okay? This is my very first YouTube video vlog. So, um, I'm SC Honesty, and let's start off with I wanted to create something to try to elevate and increase the health of love and relationships today. A lot of people have, sometimes on Facebook have seen me post things, and I believe, and definitely doesn't mean that I have a perfect situation. But what you actually experience and what you actually do are two different things. But the idea is of this show is to implement and cultivate new ideas. New ideas. I think I have a different way of seeing things, and I think if we're going to elevate love in this era and time, we're going to have to change our mindset. So, ideally, what I want are women and men, even get together as groups and check out my show. And if you like my show, please subscribe to my show. Um, and then, more importantly, I would say even still, but subscribe definitely. But talk to other people about what you hear, because I'm hopefully I'm going to share something that may not been touched on before. Maybe it's new you haven't heard before. And I'm just getting that from that's what people tell me all the time. So I'm new to this, so be patient with me, and I hope you enjoy my show. I'm known to be, some people say I'm a stone face, but I'm actually rather goofy. But anyway, so the opening of the show is I do want to start off with a warning, is that um, it's not going to be any offensive content or anything like that. Nothing to where kids can't, listen to. But I think it will be sometimes what kids should not listen to, because it's going to be adult content. Okay, it's going to be adult content in the sense of the details that I may discuss here and there and things like that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe appropriate for 15 or 16-year-old, because, you know, honestly, one of my thoughts is that, we need to start teaching these kids young to start off with love and what love is. And so this is the idea, and I just want to share that warning and disclaimer that I hope I don't offend anyone, and that it is not necessarily not kid friendly, just maybe subject matters that are not beneficial for kids. Okay, so now let me get to my show. What is love? Okay, I'm using my phone as my teleprompter, so you may see me glance away to, look at my notes and things like that. So, um, what is love? So, love to me, it's not just that warm feeling. It's really love is knowing yourself. That is the first part of love, and it's so imperative to know yourself. I'm not talking about necessarily uh, what you have to offer as far as monetarily or materially. Definitely not that. is really, what do you have to offer? What do you have to offer? Are you willing and ready to give the whole you? Are you willing and ready to give something that you probably never even experienced? That's what love is. Love is giving, and love is receiving. And it takes two people, period, to make that happen. So this is why we're going to deal with attitude and everything as we go along and talk about these things. So that is my version of what love is, and it's also an idea of that you prepare yourself for. I think what happens is people don't understand. They just think, oh, just go into the marriage, the relationship, and it's just gonna be fine. I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice girl, and whatever. No, it's preparing yourself. What I did when I got into relationships is definitely prepare myself. I made a point to think about, okay, I'm giving up my time. I'm giving up space. If you move in together, I'm not necessarily a believer in that, but sometimes it does happen. But if you move in together, you're giving up your space. You're sharing what's around the space that you're used to. And you're also sharing the space in your heart because it's no longer you. So I think you have to prepare yourself mentally and be ready for that venture of love, because love is definitely a very serious commitment. Now, when you think about it, are you willing to give yourself to this person regularly, every day? Are you willing to give yourself to this person even through the storms, whatever may happen? This is the seriousness of love. And then keep in mind, we're not talking about it. If you're a player, even women, if you, I'm not sure what they call women, but women, I've heard the term special something or whatever it is, but sponsor. So if you're into all that, the sponsoring or the men being players, maybe this is not for you. But when you want something serious, you have to really think about what you're giving up in your marriage and to your relationship. Now, I don't mean giving up as far as losing, because really what you give up in this sense is your gain. Okay, so when you think about that, you're not losing. What you give up is your gain. Okay, because now it should be your gain. Let me say that it should be your gain, because the other person should be willing to give back. Love is a reciprocal thing. So that's why we need to take the tit for tat thing out of love, because love is naturally reciprocal, period. There's no other way it's going to be. If I give, naturally I want something back. It don't have to be the same thing, the same amount. And that goes for even as far as time, money, cooking, sharing the responsibilities. It goes for all of that. But it does have to be very balanced. It most definitely has to be very balanced. So, having said that, when I was a young boy, I actually mentally prepared myself to be a husband. You may not believe it, but it is true. I most definitely prepared myself to be a husband, because I always had the idea that I knew I was going to be a good man. I knew that I wasn't going to be a cheater. I wasn't going to be an abusive person. I already knew these things. Just wasn't in my personality. And just real quick, we're going to talk about it later, but that's not even something I also believe that a person just do and can't help, but we'll talk about that later. But I knew that I wanted to give my all to whomever I was with. The woman that I married, I wanted to give my all. And I was hoping for the same thing, that she can see like, wow, this guy is, okay, he's great. He's good to me. He does things. He's romantic. He don't have a problem doing anything I ask him to do. And of course I want to reciprocate those things. And that's what I thought a woman would feel and do the same too. That, wow, this is a great guy. Hey, he's getting the sex whenever he wants it, and that, even a meal, So, but ideally, and most often it doesn't work that way. So, but that was just my idea of how I felt as a husband. And I always felt that I would be my wife's absolute best friend, because that's what I think a marriage is. And if you have an exclusive relationship, think about this: when you have an exclusive relationship, your relationship is going to be a facsimile of your marriage. Your relationship is going to be a facsimile of your marriage. It's going to be a direct copy. Please don't think any other way about it. It is, and that's it. So what I'm saying is, whatever occurs in your marriage, however it occurs in your marriage, in your relationship, in your courtship, dating process, whatever you may call it nowadays, that's exactly how your marriage is going to be. It is definitely true. However your courtship is, that's exactly how your marriage is going to be. Now, people can change. Do not get me wrong. People can change. But the ultimate question there is, will they? Will they change? You have a few that may, and you have some that just simply won't. So be warned that what you see in your courtship, dateship, whatever you call it now, if you're exclusive, that's going to be a direct impact. And what you're looking at is your marriage in the making. That's the courtship, the dating process is setting the foundation for your marriage. So that's what you're doing, is building that foundation. So you're either building a solid one or you're building a shaky one. And there is nothing in between, okay? So that's what love is to me. That's what love is to me. It is a commitment. And now, so what I want to talk about too is that people fall in love and think, oh, it's so gooey, ooey, warm feeling. And that's fine and dandy. It's fine to have that attachment that you feel you can't live without somebody and don't want to live without somebody. That's fine. But a lot of people don't understand the true perspective of love. Love, and if you evolve into marriage, that really means almost, and not giving up your life, but it definitely means changing your life, in a very serious sense. Love and marriage, your husband, your wife is your best friend. I'm not going to even use the word should be. Your husband and wife is your best friend. If they're not, you have a problem in your marriage already. So if you don't even go into your marriage and really prepare mentally that your husband, your wife, is none other than your very best friend, and now I said above your mother, above your father. So definitely no other friends or whatever you establish outside of your marriage shouldn't mean anything. It don't mean anything. So in the sense that we're talking about this is that you have to be ready to give your all to this person. Does it mean you don't have any time to yourself? No, absolutely not. Of course you make time for your girlfriends and things like that, but that shouldn't be never, ever supersede the time you spend with your husband or your wife. Now, the Bible says that you are to leave mother and father, leave them and bond to one another and become one. That says enough for me. That says enough for me. Said to leave mother and father. You can almost figure out why I didn't mention cousins and friends and sisters and brothers. Because when you come into this world, you came into this world with a mother and father. So naturally there is a bond. And so what he's saying is that, okay, you're growing up now. Now there's a man that's willing to ask for your hand in marriage. And he should be willing, according to God, to honor you, love you, even more than your father did. So you should be able to love him more like than your mother loved you, and show him the love that your mother showed you. Hopefully you're raised with both parents, but we know that most time in this day and time that it's not. But either way, and it doesn't matter whether it is or isn't, your mother does not come before your husband. Your mother, your father, does not come before your wife. Period. There's no other way to say it. And I'm just going to share this with you. My own mother told me this, and I was young, maybe 15, 16, and I remember her sitting me down. And she said, son, I want to tell you something. She said, when you get married, your wife comes before me and everything else. And I remember arguing with her. Yeah. Not a major argument. But I remember saying, Mama, now you're going to always be my best friend. You're going to always be my main girl, is what I told her. And she said, no. She said, no. I'm telling you that your wife comes before me, your friends, your children, and everything else. Your wife is above all things and everyone. As I got older, not even necessarily delving into the Bible, but I began to understand and see what she meant. The thing that got me was the children. Oh, the kids, Mama? Hold on, them kids, they need us. Yes, they do, for the duration of the time. And it doesn't mean that you neglect the kids. It doesn't even mean that you neglect your mother and father and never see them again. It doesn't mean that at all, because a good husband and a good wife knows you want to spend quality time with your mother and father. Okay? So that's not what we're talking about. But when I finally got older and had my own children, and they left the nest. But that's what I figured out probably when I was 25, maybe, somewhere around there. And I said, yeah, because one day, you know what? The children are going to leave the nest, and it's going to be just me and you. Well, if we haven't cultivated a positive, strong, faithful rapport over the duration of that time, guess what? When they leave the nest, man, there's not going to be anything there for you. That's what you have to think about, and that's what you have to put into perspective. So yes, your marriage, your husband, your wife comes before everybody and everything. That is your best friend, bar none. So, and I want you to leave some feedback, send me some messages. I'm going to get an email so you can send me some messages and things. We're going to get everything worked out as we go. But this is true, folks. Your marriage is just really becomes the most important thing in your life. And you should make it intentionally, and intently the most important thing in your life. Marriage is not a joke. And I say this about exclusive relationships too, as I said earlier, that your marriage is going to be built on you and only you too. And you got to be able to navigate through the storms of all circumstances, no matter what. So we talked about love being the commitment. So I said that my definition of a husband is to fulfill my wife's need. That's how I always define myself as a husband. My job is to keep my wife happy. Now keep in mind, that's my personality. That's my idea. If she shares the same idea of love, we should not have a problem. But you can't be selfish in love. On no level can you be selfish. Okay? So that's why I've always made my idea, my definition of a husband is to fulfill my wife's desires and needs and wants. Not the same as desires, but it's just whatever she asks for, yes. If it's feasible, I'm going to give it to her. Time, money, There's a time when my wife literally woke up one morning, 2 a.m. And this was definitely pre-COVID, when Walmart was staying open 24/7. And she wanted some ice cream. She just had this sweet craving. Well, that's what I mean. Love is not about convenience. See, if you get married in an exclusive relationship and you think everything's about convenience to you, rethink it. Redevelop your attitude. Because love is not about convenience. Like I said, it's about making the other person happy. So that's one of my definitions of love too, because when you get into a relationship, guess what? You are entering with another person, another soul. A person or soul that has totally different thoughts and feelings, emotions than you. And they can work together, but they're different. Okay? So, but your idea is the person asking somebody to come into your life, however it may go. Sometimes women ask men. But definitely we men, we should be willing to accommodate whatever that woman needs. And I definitely mean this both ways too. But we men should be willing to sit down and think about who we are, what we want to do, and be that person that woman wants and needs. And that is just the fact of life. And so I also believe that does and should go two ways. So what I am saying is that if you do get a person that's willing to do things for you, you'll be willing to do it back. It don't have to be the same things, but if he's romantic to you ladies, and this man will do anything to fulfill you, he's not worth a dinner? He's not worth it? Okay, I'm going to cook for this man. I'm going to surprise this man with something. I've done some romantic things, and we'll talk about that later too, the types of things. I'm an extremely romantic man, and I think it's important to be romantic. And I remember A lady one time called me a helpless romantic, and I think I am. But it's important that those things, you know, uh, revolve around the relationship between both of you. It is highly important that they revolve around both of you. He should do it, she should do it, you know, and you shouldn't have any problems after that. Because love should be dealt with respectfully. Okay? No matter what storms you go through, love should be always dealt with respectfully. You can be angry and not have to cuss your mate out, not have to say anything offensive, not have to say anything abusive or emotionally uh, uh, depressing. I do believe that that's possible. And I think this is part of the new cultivation I'm trying to get us to. We have to think different of that. We can't just think that I'm going to kick you back. You know, if it happened to me, yeah, it's sort of natural that, okay, you did it to me, I'm going to do it back. I'm somewhat of a vindictive person. And it's not good. It's not good at all to be vindictive. And this saying, one thing I don't like on Facebook and social media that I'm seeing, that same energy for same energy, match the energy. No. And that definitely that saying has no place in marriage and exclusive serious relationships. It has no place. In fact, that saying, it will be the storm that wipes you out. That saying, match energy for energy, do the same thing, you do it to me, I'm going to do it to you. That's what's going to wipe you out. Somebody has to be, and hopefully both of you. So this is what I'm saying, is that both of you cultivate a new attitude to be more loving and more open, that even if he offended you, try to remain respectful. Okay, baby, look, I didn't like this. You know, let's talk about this. And then he should be willing, okay, baby, you know, I'm sorry, I apologize. You know, I should, because when you love each other, you ought to honor their feelings. There is no point in your marriage or serious relationship to where you should discard the other person's feelings. Ever. Ever. Okay? There's no place, at no point, I don't care how angry you get, you should never become so angry that you forget why you love that person in the first place. Especially if you married them. You should never become so angry that you forgot why you got married. And when I mean forget why you got married, when you blast off with hurtful things and hurtful words and all that, that's, you're sinking. You're sinking. You are sinking your marriage. And I'm guilty of that myself. And always constantly working to be a better person. But I'm telling you, it's not healthy. I believe that we can become people who, even if the other person never establishes their growth to this point, but I believe that I, as an individual, can become that person that, okay, I'm not going to contribute to the turbulence. And we can become that person. We have to choose to. I'm working on that every day. And so that's what I invite you to do, especially if you're young. Start cultivating that attitude already. Because the more you can learn to be peaceful with yourself, honestly, the less impact negativity from even somebody you love dearly will hurt you. You could be able to respond, listen, I don't like what you said, I don't like what you did, but you won't be like, you won't be ready to just fight all the time. You won't be ready to just call a name all the time. When you get to that point, I mean, you're really not loving each other at that point. You definitely are not a soulmate. You know, if you're at a point to where you're spending time angry, staying angry, taking time away from positive things, just remaining negative, uh, you know, just not talking to each other, you know, it's not good. It's definitely not good because you should be able to get angry and come back down. And I mean that on any level of whatever happened, even if the person cheated, because staying angry even about that is it's not going to do anything. So staying angry about anything is not going to make anything better. Okay? So passive aggressiveness, it's not healthy for your relationship. I mean, especially, and there's women and men that'll be passive aggressive for months on end. Literally. It's not cool. It's not cool. It's not going to do anything. You're not teaching the other person anything. You're not helping build your relationship. In fact, you're only contributing now more to a sinking ship that's already probably halfway filled with water and just about to go on under. So being passive aggressive is not. And so people don't sometimes understand. People think that passive aggressiveness is just that throwing hints, subtle hints around instead of saying something directly. That is passive aggressiveness. Passive aggressiveness is also not saying anything. Walking around, your mate's trying to talk to you, and you just ignore them, turning your back when you sleep, you're no longer snuggling. You're doing things to deliberately, and this is the person who's being passive aggressive, that's their intent, is to try to get your attention. I think that's what they probably should want, but it's not good. Okay, you're hurting the other person. And you're making the other person trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? Well, eventually, that other person, no matter how much they may love you, you know, no matter how much they may love you, is going to say, forget it too. Okay? Eventually, they're going to say, I don't care anymore. So being passive aggressive is not love. It's not healthy. It's not going to do anything to build your relationship. So that's not what love is. So I've actually jumped the gun to what I'm talking about, love. So the idea of love is that it should make you want to take an honest look at yourself. So I was just talking about passive aggressiveness. So take an honest look at yourself. What is it that you really want to convey to your mate? Especially when you're angry. See, we all can be good. We all can be good when things are good. That's easy. That's easy, man. You know, the hard part is when the storms blow in. How do you handle it? I always have a saying that is never a question to where is problem gonna come knocking. I always say it, and I tell my children all the time, the question is, how are you going to answer? That's the question. So, how are you going to answer? Because problems are going to come. And how you answer, man, it can change the world in a sense. It's going to make such a big difference that it can either elevate or de-escalate. And honestly, and your response. So basically, yes, is holding you both accountable. So yeah, your mate may come at you, but if you immediately go back, guess what? Yeah, y'all at it. Y'all are at it. And now a lot of stuff has transpired that neither one of you almost remember how it began. So honestly, how you answer can either escalate or de-escalate a situation. Period. So both of you, yes, your mate may have started it, but your response fanned the fire. You threw gasoline on it instead of stamping it out. And I'm guilty of that too. Sometimes, that's sometimes when we think, well, this is my personality. I remember when I was 16 again, when my mama said, well, Sean, you just need to calm down sometimes. Mama, if they don't do this to me, if they don't provoke me, if they don't do this. But you know what? I did learn early on that I control my response. I do. I control my response. And even though, yes, I've had some issues and even issues in marriage, but it doesn't ever take away the responsibility that I control my response. No matter what happens, I control my response. So essentially, I'm preaching to myself too. And this video is not just for you and everybody. I'm talking to myself as I talk about this video. But as I said earlier, and hopefully embark on new things and new ideas to work on trying. Because I do believe that true love will last forever. I do. True love will last forever. Nothing, not anything, can tear down true love. So if it didn't make it, it wasn't true love. And that's my philosophy of love. And I do believe that nothing can tear down true love. Because guess what? True love, if both of you have true love for each other, you're going to find a way to make things work. The only thing I will say is that cheating. But let me say this about cheating. You cannot love somebody and cheat. If you truly love somebody, you will not cheat on them. Period. I'm saying that as a man, and I will tell you as a man, I have never, ever cheated on a woman. Never. Never in my life. Never in my life have I cheated on a woman. So I'm saying that to say that men and women, because sometimes women do cheat too, no matter what problems you have, man, cheating's not the answer. Cheating is not going to be the answer. Cheating will only escalate the problem. Like I just said, your response will escalate or de-escalate. Well, cheating, now you're hurting this person. And so this is one of the parts I'm talking about, maybe not suitable for children. So since I'm on the subject, and we're going to talk about things in other episodes too. Cheating is nasty. Cheating is so nasty. Think about it, what's involved when you cheat. You literally are taking your body part, your penis, and you are inserting it into another woman. And then you come home to be with your woman. Or vice versa for a man. A woman. You are allowing a man to insert himself to you. And then you come home to your man. Most typically, oral sex is prominent in relationships. So this is what you're doing to your mate. You asking him to eat after somebody else and did their thing to you. You asking her to oral sex you after you done stuck your stuff into somebody else. Cheating is nasty. So there is no way you can love somebody and cheat. Not to mention that you really would not want to hurt them, okay? Not to mention that you really would not want to hurt them anyway. Cheating cannot happen incidentally, accidentally. It can only happen intentionally, okay? There's nothing that just, oh, it just happened. No. I don't care what you say. Cheating can never just happen. So with that being said, even though I talked about true love lasting forever, well, if you cheat, that's not true love. So you already disavowed the true love at that point. So your relationship should not last. So now some people may want to forgive cheating. And that's fine. If you love your mate enough that you want to forgive cheating, that's fine. Personally, for me, I'm sorry you just disavowed my love for you. You disavowed our vows. You disavowed a vow from God. And speaking of God, that's the only reason, even biblically, that you are allowed to get a divorce. Okay? That you are allowed to get a divorce. The Bible says, with the exception of infidelity, a man shall not give his woman of his wife a divorce certificate. Infidelity is the only reason. Yeah, now we're going to talk about all that later. No, he's not saying that you stay in abusive relationships, but it goes on to say that if you are to remarry, you should reconcile one to another. And hopefully that means that if there was an abusive man, he's changed. If it was an abusive woman, she's changed. But infidelity, so the way I explained it is nasty, right? Well, that's what you're doing to your mate. And that's what you're expressing about your relationship. So that's why I think why the Bible says infidelity, no, we don't do that. And he said you can leave that person. But that's the one thing that people forgive the most, along with abuse. But I mean, women and men forgive cheaters all the time. And I hear people saying, oh, well, everybody makes mistakes. My definition of a mistake is something that happens by accident, that you did not intend to do. So, therefore, I could never, ever accept cheating as a mistake. I will never, ever accept cheating as a mistake. You were irresponsible, you were egregious, and you were nasty. And you did it intentionally. So therefore, that's the one thing I will not forgive. And I'm just telling you now. My wife knows that. In fact, I said 3 things to my wife when I got married. I said, 1, don't ever raise your hand to me. I said, 2, don't ever cheat on me. And number 3, if you want to be free, let me know. And I think that's as honest as you can be. And those are the 3 things I did say to my wife. And people, you get the question, raise your hand, right? A woman has no right to hit a man, okay? We're going to talk about this stuff later, but I'm just going to tell you now that no matter what, emotionally or whatever, a woman has no right to hit a man. A man is going to be a man under all and any circumstances. His instincts and his reflexes are far different from a woman. And they're natural. So my advice would never, ever. If your man did something you don't like, I'm not going to sit there and tell you to hit him. You saw what Oprah did, right? You told Harpo to beat me. You see Harpo's eye? Okay? So the idea of that is women can hurt men too. So my advice is never ever in a relationship put your hands on each other. A man should not hit you, and a woman should never hit a man. So those are the ideas. But back to the cheating thing, is nasty and is uncalled for, and I don't believe in it. So a little bit more, as I kind of alluded to, love is faithful even through the storms. Even through the storms, love remains faithful. It doesn't go out and cheat. It doesn't go out, even innocent flirting. Flirting is not healthy in an exclusive relationship, definitely not in a marriage. Marriage means you have chosen this one person to be your lifetime soulmate. One person to be your lifetime. Period. So there's no reason for you to go out there and flirt. There's no reason you should need to be entertained by other men. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with if a man says, "Excuse me, ma'am, you are beautiful," and you say thank you. That's fine. But, when the situation becomes like he's just chit-chatting with you, making with you, "Oh, you're so fine, you're a snack," and no, you should shut that down. Okay? You need to shut that down. Don't allow a man to take your attention away from your husband, because you are therefore empowering that man. Men are funny creatures, just as women. We're going to talk about all this, man. I'm really getting excited about my show now, because we're going to talk about all this. And this is part of why I want you guys to subscribe and enjoy my show. But you are now empowering that man. That dude just challenged your husband, and you're not even aware of it. Maybe you might be, but most likely you may not be. Because when a man typically says, "Baby, you're flirting," no, he's just being nice. Let me hit that other camera. What? Are you kidding me? No, he's not just being nice. He is challenging you. As much attention as he can get from you, that is empowering him. Like, man, she's checking me out, and not even her own husband. Or she's giving me time right in front of her own husband. Y'all don't think about that. Men play subtle mind games. Okay? Period. Men do that. And sometimes too many women buy into it and think it's innocent. And sometimes I'm not so sure if a woman is really that gullible to believe, "Oh, he's just innocent." No. You know. I know you know. So stop playing with yourself. Be honest. And we're going to use that word. That's why the show is called SC Honesty. Be honest with yourself. When a man begins to flirt with you, and I'm going to say this, even when your man is not around, shut that stuff down, because it's never innocent. Flirting is never innocent. Woman to man, man to woman. Flirting is never innocent. Okay? And it's not okay. So if you're exclusive, and definitely married, and the reason why I keep bringing up exclusive, because there are people who are in serious relationships that may not be married, but they're still giving their all in all. So if you're in that type of relationship, stop with the nonsense. Stop the flirting. Stop the abuse, and stop talking down to each other. Love in marriage is extremely, extremely serious, okay? So I would encourage you to be mindful when men or women approach you. Now, what I just said about men flirting with a man's woman or wife, I mean the same for women too. Men, a woman flirting with you is nothing innocent about it. A woman putting her chest all up in your face, What's innocent about that? You know what you're thinking, and you know what you're likely to do. The thing is that all this up here, the mind is powerful. Okay, so let's be honest with ourselves. When you're thinking, ain't nobody sitting up thinking that, oh, he's flirting with me and, ooh, he's sexy. So your mind starts to go off into other things and doing things that it shouldn't. And that's just natural. But if you don't allow it, your mind won't go that far out, okay? So we do have to control our mindset. Me personally, I make a point not to even look at women, honestly. Like, I'm not going to, man, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I've already told my wife that if you see me out in the mall and I'm looking at a woman like this, you better smack me before I get right here, because I've already taken her clothes off. And that's just the truth. That's what we men do. And it's not right. It's not right. That's why I make a point not to look at women, because I'm a lustful creature, as we all are, at least most of us. Some of us might admit it, some of us may not. So I make it a point, and especially being married, that I'm not going to lust after a woman. Because from here to here, my wife deserves my undivided attention. From here to here, my wife deserves all of me. Every last bit of me. Not another woman flirting with me. Now, we're not talking about a compliment. A compliment and they move on, that's okay. But intentional flirting and trying to engage where you shouldn't, no, ain't no new conversation here. I've already established what I wanted. And when I said I do to my wife, that's what I wanted for life, for a lifetime. Okay? That's when I made the decision to say, I'm going to give my attention, my whole, that's why I said at the beginning, are you willing to give your whole self, W-H-O-L-E, whole self, to your mate? Okay? So my time is about out. I was planning on doing an hour show. So I guess maybe if this happens, then I'll have a continuation of the next segment, because I do want to talk about everything I had written down for this show. So, and then I'm going to also learn time management as we go. But before I conclude, just remember, some things we did touch on. And this is the type of nature that I want this show to be. So I hope that people will chime in, will subscribe, and more importantly, learn something. Relationships, serious relationships, are not to be played with. They're not to be played with. Period. It doesn't matter how you sum it up. It doesn't matter what you think that's innocent or not. Be honest with yourself. Because that was one of my points of love. Love is honest. Always. Be honest with yourself. When you're walking out or walking somewhere and you're looking at this woman and you know what you're thinking? Be honest with yourself. So stop. So don't look. If this is what you can do. So don't just set up and say it's natural. No, it may be natural to look, but we control ourselves, okay? We have the power to control ourselves. So just because something may be natural, it doesn't mean that it's okay to do. You need me to say that again? Let me say it to this camera. Just because something may be natural, it doesn't mean that is okay to do. Yes, we do things instinctively. Yes, we do things because of what we call nature. But never ever forget that we all have the ability and the power to be responsible. So what I am saying to you is that even though we're not perfect people, there is nothing in the world that stops us from being responsible. And that's been a saying of mine really since I was young. I've always had that, well, for a long time, in my 20s, somewhere around there, that I'm not perfect. I'm responsible. And there's nothing that I talked about today. There's nothing I talked about today we cannot achieve. If you are the mate in the relationship that don't want to listen, that's hard to listen to, become that person that they can listen to, because your mate should always feel like they can come to you. If you can't go to anybody else in this world, you should always feel like you can go to your husband or your wife. If you can't, there is a problem. And when I say there is a problem, it doesn't mean that you need to dissolve things at this point. Because at some point when I get to it, we're going to talk about red flags. But it doesn't mean that you have to dissolve it right away. It just means that there's some place, somewhere, something needs some work. One or both of you need to work on. But each one of you, listen to each other. Listen to each other. Allow her to complain to you, my brother, my man. Allow her to complain to you about you. And you take it in, absorb it. To my ladies, allow him to complain to you about you. Don't call him insecure. Don't call him weak. Don't call him anything. I see this a lot with women. Women are starting to, like, if a man says, baby, I got a problem with it, oh, you weak, baby, you flirting, oh, you insecure. No, if that's what he sees and he don't like it, respect him. And likewise, brother, if she says that to you, don't call her insecure, don't call her weak, respect her. You have no right to disrespect and dishonor your wife, your husband. You have no right. That is not something that is naturally given to you. In fact, the Bible says, honor your wife. It says, love your wife like Jesus loved the church. So honor your wife. And that goes for women too. Honor your husband. You know. So, okay. That's pretty much the time for this episode. I hope you enjoyed my show. I want you to come back and watch. I'm going to try to do a show every week, once a week. And this is my first upload and first show. Please subscribe. Tell people to come SC Honesty. That's a SC Honesty. Okay? So this is the show where we're just going to have to be honest. And I'm going to bring it to you with nothing but honesty. Check you later. Bye.